of the patriarchy.
What does the imbalance of feminine energy look like? And we talked a little bit before about there's a competition, there's all sorts of things, but maybe you both could layer something on here about what does it look like when we're out of balance with our feminine energy?
I think one of the most obvious things is, like Hualani said, that the earth is bleeding currently. The whole planet is not doing very well. And I for sure know as a child, since being a child, I've felt this pain. And I think it is the feminine that feels the pain. I know that if I see stories about how the earth is treated and mistreated, and especially animals, I can cry for days. And there is so much hurt coming via the planet into the feminine consciousness. But I feel this is one of the ways in which it is embodied. Is that there's this hurt that we cannot describe. And this is one level of it, is that the planet is being mistreated due to patriarchal ideas, or due to the masculine power over ideas, that we have to basically domesticate the planet and the living beings on it, which is not the truth that the planet needs in order to thrive. So, if there's something you want to say, Hualani.
So there's, in addition to what you said, there's colonization. There's the way we do business, which is very penetrative and mass production and anchored in greed, instead of the natural flow of creativity through each person or each team of people, so that not only does it allow us to thrive in our life, but also gives back to the planet and gives back to humanity in a way that life is wanting it to give back. Like there's a wholeness and a harmonization within that creativity, when often it's more about what do I want to give, instead of what does life want to give through me. And then another piece that's rising up for me is the way we birth incoming souls.
Oh.
And what we've bought into in that process of giving birth that's been institutionalized, that has negated the wisdom of our own body to really open and drop the baby through. The way we conceive, like it's an act to further our ancestral lineage, versus a mystical union of an explosion of a new universe for a new soul to bring something new through to the world, free from the woundedness of the ancestral lineage. So if we were to really step back and listen to our bodies and listen to the energy between the two guardians of a soul wanting to come through, what would that look like? And particularly the women who are carrying the gestation in their wombs, to clear the womb prior to conception is powerful.
Yeah, you're really talking
particularly
about parenting.
For these new era babies, for them to really get on with their purpose, instead of having to work through the matrix of the ancestral woundedness first before they can get on with their own pure destiny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So far I'm hearing some themes from both of you around where has it become imbalanced and what are the gifts of the sacred feminine. And I think a huge one that you're both naming is actually being in the body. Like that is a significant part of the feminine power, is actually embodiment, holding the energies, clearing the energies, being in contact with this whole presence that's our physical body, but it's so much bigger than that. So there's something about, like, Hualani, you were talking about, caring for the whole, essentially, when we're talking about the earth. So there's something about attuning. And then Marie, you're talking about from when you were early, and I'm the same way. I have spent days crying when I feel like we have a lot of fires happening in our country right now, and obviously in Greece, it's all over. And the pain of what happens to animals and children and sex trafficking, and like, how do you begin to make sense out of any of that? But to the point that we're talking about right now, I think the summary I was wanting to make is, I don't know how we do this unless we're in our body and in our heart, like what we're talking about. And that seems like a huge part of the journey of embracing feminine power, is actually slowing down what you were saying, Hualani, about recognizing that our world is created on penetrative power. It's just like, get in there, make as much as you can, as fast as you can, but there's not looking at the whole. And I think the other piece that I heard was basically the collaborative flow when you were talking about the earth. And it's like, okay, so what does the whole system need? And we're so far away from that. I don't even know as humanity how and when and if we can actually get back to a level of consciousness where people really are aware that what they're doing is impacting everyone, and it's not all about them and their needs. So any other layers that you would want to add on to the body wisdom and the heart opening?
Yes, I would like to add on what Hualani actually addressed now, when she said the act of actually conceiving a child, is something that has become sordid, and in a lot of religions and in society has become something that we think of as a taboo. And that's something I could never understand as a child either, is how people, especially people that I knew from the church, talked about lovemaking or sex, or however you want to call it, because I always felt this is something sacred. And why do you try to make it into something ugly that then will create a wound that we all need to heal from again? When we actually then do engage with the male energy, whether it's to bring another soul into the world or not, but this union of female and male energies is something sacred, and it's not something to be ashamed of, and it's actually something to revere and respect, and that needs to be treated in a completely different way. And there's just small details I remember from growing up, is how we were allowed to watch violent movies. Generally, that was fine with society from a certain age, but in movies where a scene of lovemaking was relatively loving and actually harmless, was shut down for us. And what is this balance? That's no balance. Why don't you teach children sex is a beautiful part of life? Yes, treat it with responsibility, all of that, yes. But I feel that comes instinctively anyway. But why do you expose us to violence? This is also something that I feel is totally and completely out of balance. Why should children be exposed to so much violence and believe it's normal? It's skewed towards male destructive energies. And it's something that never sat well with me either. And growing up, I actually realized that men were always attracted to me in a sexual way. And I'm only now beginning to accept that it is actually not something bad.
Yeah.
Because it has created so much jealousy and so much misunderstanding in wherever I found myself, whether it was in a work environment or in a private environment. And it's not like I chose to be in this body. I mean, consciously as a human being, this is the body I was given. That's maybe the soul journey chose this body specifically, but I think one of the really important healing aspects that we have to do as feminine embodiments is to coming back to be in our body and to be proud of our body, and that and all the power and all the effects it has on the world, including on men, and not to be so scared of it and not to condemn the power that women actually hold, because it's a life force. That's what it is.
Yeah, I really appreciate, and Hualani, I want to hear from you in a second. I really appreciate you bringing this theme in, Marie, because I think it is part of where the sisterhood wound is it's our sexuality has been co-opted in a way where it once is this beautiful way of bringing so much love into our bodies, into each other, whether it's a man with a man or a woman with a woman or whatever it is. And there's a way that it's been so shamed that now it's turned into something that's like an industry that checks people out of their body. So it's the very opposite of what we're saying in terms of the sacredhood is being in the body. Like much of our culture is popping this out. So Hualani, do you want to add anything to this line?
Yeah, I'd love to. From what Marie was sharing there, like there's a big difference between the oogling of objectification and reverence for beauty.
Yeah.
And that's another expression of the imbalance of the feminine dynamic is we've lost that reverence for the beauty of the expression of the feminine, whether it's through a body or whether it's through art or whether it's the planet in a garden, like all those beautiful expressions. And the loss of our remembrance and knowing that the sexual energy is the powerful energy of creation itself when it's in its pure state. So to come back to what I said earlier about coming right into the back of our bodies to be fully embodied, we have to come through sexual healing in order to really sit in our hips. Otherwise, we're just hitting up against something that's saying, no, no. And we're going, yes, yes. So for our cervixes to really root into the core of the earth, we need to make room for that to happen. And then the other piece is the honoring of our menstrual cycles as a mystical tradition and way of being in the female body that allows us to tune into deeper levels of being, deeper levels of mystery, to follow the rhythmic cycles of nature and the seasons, to know when we need to retreat and be unto ourselves, or when we're free to give and share and create and illuminate. Like there's a cycle to that that keeps us balanced in our psyches and in our bodies. And I firmly believe that if a great percentage of female bodies who are menstruating and or are in their menopausal cycle really came to understand and embody that wisdom, the world would begin to change just by the nature that we're all practicing this at home. We're calling on our partners to assist us during our bleeding time. We're calling on our children to leave us alone when we're in the bathtub with a locked door and essential oils. And corporations that honor downtime in the first day of bleeding or the first 2 or 3 days of bleeding to accommodate that. I know there are corporations out there, particularly in Europe, that are beginning to do that, but it needs to be worldwide. There's so much that we have forgotten that is beginning to resurface, but we're challenged to figure out how to reintegrate it into the life that is existing right now. So my question is, perhaps it's not about initially integrating it into the life we have right now, but more about practicing and intending something new that will begin to shapeshift the worlds that we operate in, whether it's in our home or in a corporate environment or a healing practice, however we may be expressing it. Because I know a lot of healers that are worn out and are not honoring their cycles.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're hitting on one of the biggest points, which is in the patriarchal society, there is no rest. It's just go, 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 just keep creating and doing and consuming and accumulating. And I think the art of resting, whether it's through our menses in the moon cycle, or for men learning how to rest, like any of us